Alrighty, so I've just got back from the Quakes versus Austin game about an hour ago, as I also had to fill out the notes in terms I took for some of these decision day game on the board. And originally I was gonna do both the East and Western Conference review tomorrow, but because of how crazy the Eastern Conference is, especially in terms of the playoff race, where it literally went down to the wire, I decided to do it today, even though it is right now 10:30 p.m. my time to go to work tomorrow at 6:30 in the morning. Who needs sleep when you get to talk about some of the crazy things that happen in terms of the decision day and especially in the playoff race? But we start off with the first game, which is Charlotte versus Inter Miami. And keep in mind, this first board is all about games that relate to the playoff race. I decided to talk about those games first because I'm pretty sure a lot of people were very interested in terms of the playoff races of both conferences coming into decision day. So, in this game between Charlotte versus Miami, of course, it's pretty much Act 2 in terms of both of these teams playing, as this is the second game in the last 3 days. Both of them play back in the middle of the week. Charlotte got a draw in that one, but it's a draw that, they definitely will not be happy because, they let one slip late and that a win in that game that they would have been in a good position heading into decision and clinch the playoffs. And now they pretty much had to win this game if they want to make it to the playoffs. And they did exactly that. Although in a very typical Charlotte FC fashion, this season Charlotte has dropped a lot of points, especially giving up late goals. My word, they try their damn best in terms of not making the playoffs, and I'm pretty sure they gave that 70,000 fans that was in attendance in this game to see Messi and their team hopefully make the playoffs. Definitely some heart attack late in this one. Now, in the first half, it looked like the opening goal was scored by Miami just 2 minutes in when Campana puts it into the back of the net, but to the short faithful relief, the goal was disallowed for offside, and in the 13th minute, that 70,000 crowd was able to erupt because Kervin Vargas, for the second consecutive game score here from Josviak to give Charlotte a 1-0 lead. Little do we know that would actually turns out to be the winning goal of the game, but up to this point, it looked like that was the goal that might be enough to clinch playoffs for them, and it took a deflection. In the 19th minute, Shvedetsky would put the free kick wide, as I thought Charlotte was definitely on the front foot. They were looking to press for another. Keep in mind, Messi did play for Miami in this game, so the 70,000 so that was in attendance in this one. They at least got their wish, unlike the Chicago crowd that definitely didn't get that the wish of seeing Messi, but at least they got to see their team win back in that game when Miami played against the Chicago Fire. But in the 40th minute, Gomez would put it wide from close range before Prevent would put it right to Dos Santos there. This was CJ Dos Santos' first game as a goalkeeper for Inter Miami. It's up to this point, it's been Drake Calendar, but knowing the fact that Miami didn't have anything to play for, you might as well just put some of these youngsters and give them some minutes here. And I thought CJ Dos Santos had a relatively good game too. I mean, it's not easy to debut in terms of in the league, and especially it's not easy when it comes to doing it on decision day, even though your team are pretty much out of the running. But to do it in front of 70,000 fans, yeah, that's not an easy task to do, and I thought he did relatively well. Campana then hits one right to Kalina in the 3rd minute stoppage time, but we do head to halftime with Charlotte leading 1-0. Now in the second half, it looked like Messi scored. He was in on goal here, and he tucks that one in. But for the second time in this game, the flag came up for offside. So yeah, not only the fact that the MVP for Charlotte is in this game is basically the post, as I'll talk about in a bit, but their MVP and their reason why they were able to just sneak into the playoffs is because of the offside flag. But Miami definitely had more of the possession. But besides the Messi chance, they haven't really created much, and this is all credit to Charlotte doing well in terms of defending. But this is also where if you're a Charlotte fans, you kind of seen this story before, where they decided to park the bus for the rest of the game and hope for the best. And as I've said before, that has just simply not worked out for the Charlotte team. In the 62nd minute, Kalina would deny Messi on the free kick as he was pushed that one onto the post. The announcer says that was a great save. I think Taylor 12 mentioned that is a great save, but in my I mean, I think that's one that Kalina got away with it because that one kind of was hit right to Kalina. He kind of fumbled that one, and he was fortunate to put that one onto the post because if he dropped fumble that one and it went in, I'm pretty sure Taylor Twellman is not going to say that's a great goal. He's probably going to be saying, "Yep, there's another typical Messi kind of go. But in the 69th minute, Merrim would hit one right to Dos Santos before Dos Santos denied Schwadetsky from close range in the 71st minute. And you just wonder, will these missed chances come back to haunt Charlotte? Because yeah, you knowing that coming late in the game when it's only a 1 goal lead for Charlotte, a lot of Charlotte fans know what's going to happen. Because in the 86th minute, Campana would miss wide from close range, and then Kalina absolutely robbed Campana on the header there, or actually not on the header, but more on the shot there, and that save. I mean, I know there's still time left, but I thought that was kind of a moment where if Charlotte does make it to the playoffs, that's going to be a moment that's going to be remembered for the rest of the season, because that was a big time save there from Christian Kalina. But you also sense that the bus was firmly parked for Charlotte. Again, they were just hanging on for dear life to get this win. Kalina would then deny Messi, who almost scored an Olympico here. And then there was a scramble in the Charlotte box, and Charlotte just about dealt with it. I think there was a couple of opportunities. Gomez actually had the last opportunity, but didn't really make clean contact, and you just have a sense that the 70,000 inside Bank of America Stadium is not only on hold your breath mode, but they are probably gasping for air, because this is just clearly Charlotte trying their best to blow this game one more time, and we saw this happen last season with Columbus. We're a team that keep blowing leads, and it's kind of no surprise the fact that they blow it one more time on decision day to miss out on the playoffs. And it looked like Charlotte was on that route to do so. But thankfully for Charlotte, the full time whistle eventually sounded, and they survive and win 1-0 in this one. Shots in this one, 11 shots for both of these teams. 4 shots on goal for the 3 that Miami has. 4 shots off target for the 3 that Charlotte has. Both teams had 4 shots that was blocked, and possession wise, 61% possession compared to 39% possession that Charlotte has in this game. And for the first time in club history, Florida FC is moving on into the playoffs. They sneak into the playoffs as the ninth seed, and they will be playing in the play-in game. But the question is, who is going to be their playing opponent? Is it going to be Montreal? Is it going to be the Red Bulls, or even the other New York team, or even the Chicago Fire? Well, for a while it looked like it was Montreal, as in this game between Columbus versus Montreal. So one of the things that I actually didn't realize is that Montreal, even if they lose this game, depending on how other resort goes, they can still make it to the playoffs. And for a while, it looked like the resort was going to go in favor of Montreal. And they actually kind of helped themselves by getting an opening goal just 7 minutes in, as Sanusi Ibrahim would score from Brogiat and Saliba to give Montreal a 1-0 lead. Though Cucho did look for a response, but he missed wide there. He does eventually get the response in the 17th minute. He scored here from Morea to make it 1-0 in favor of Columbus. I mean, Cucho has just been cooking lately. I mean, he is a guy that has just been always able to find some chances, and I think if he would be able to show his clinical finish a little bit more, because clinical finishing hasn't really been the best suit for Cucho, despite having loads of chances. But if he can show his clinical finishing, he would have definitely be challenging for the Golden Boot race. But Ramirez then puts it wide and high from long range before Cucho would puts it high from close range. Columbus no doubt had the momentum now. They were pressing to get another and the lead in this one. Saliba would then heads it wide from close, but we do head to halftime with Columbus leading 1-0. However, 5 minutes in, they would make it 2-0, or actually not 1-0. I'm sorry, it was a tie game up to that point, but they eventually would take the lead just 5 minutes in, as Darlington Nagbe would score from Amundsen to make it 2-1 in favor of Columbus. That was vintage Nancy ball. Like, if you want to know what Nancy ball is all about, just watch that goal. That is exactly what Wilfred Nancy has brought to the table of this Columbus team, and it's no wonder why they are probably the most dangerous attack in the league right now. I mean, the way that he's able to get that attack going, it's just such a beautiful thing to watch him and his team just go on the attack week in and week out. Though in the 55th minute, Siwas would deny Cucho as he was in on goal there, and then Cucho would miss wide from long range. Matan then was through on goal there, but Siwas just did enough to poke that one in. Though originally it looked like it was kind of going to land right to Cucho, but he was kind of a little bit off balance. The ball was kind of behind him, and he couldn't really quite connect that shot very well. But there was no doubt that Columbus was knocking on the door for the third goal. And, at that point, well, things stands, Montreal would still be above the red line. I mean, you just think that, do you really want to rely on other team to get resort? I mean, yes, on other hand, it's great that other team is helping them, but you want to control your own destiny. And for Montreal, I was kind of surprised they don't think about maybe get himself the equalizer, because as much as Columbus had a lot of chances, this was still just a one-goal game. Cucho then skies one after just a bad giveaway from Montreal. That was a thing we saw a lot in the second half, because Siwas then robbed Cucho as he was in on goal there. That, of course, came from a turnover. And again, Cucho could have had his hat trick if he was just able to show a little bit more better in terms of finishing. But again, like I said, that came all of turnover. Montreal would just keep turning the ball over and over again in this Columbus team. Just simply can't do that against this Crew team. Russell Rowe then pulls it wide from close range before Saliba. It puts it high from close as Montreal kind of started to get that. Yeah, maybe we might need to get a resort rather than a loss in this one. But in the end, they did lose this one 2-1 as Wilfred Nancy once again gets the best out of his former team. As the shots in this one, 21 shots compared to 6 that Montreal has, 2 shots on goal compared to 5 that Columbus had, 7 shots off target compared to 4 that Montreal has, 9 shots out of block compared to 4 that Montreal has, and possession-wise, 62% possession compared to 38% possession that Montreal has. But the question is, with the way that when this game ended, it looked like Montreal was still above the red line. But the question is that can they stay above the red line? And did Wilfred Nancy got his revenge of knocking his former team out? Well, the answer to that question is yes, because moving on into the next game, this is the craziness I was talking about. So it feels like every decision day we have this kind of craziness where literally at the death of the game, the pendulum basically swung. You just thought that one team was making it to the playoffs, and then the other team somehow find a late winner to propel themselves into the playoffs. And this time it's the Red Bulls, the one that does it. And they did it again. A couple years ago, as I mentioned, they need a resort against Nashville. They got that draw to propel themselves into the playoffs and keep the streak alive. And then a couple years later, they did it again. Although this time was a little bit harder because they need to win this one if they want any chances to make it to the playoffs. And they did exactly that, though. They definitely left it really late in this game and did it in dramatic fashion. Now, in the first half, not much really happened early in this game. Mule did try to score against his former team, but he missed wide from close range. If Alex Mule scored there, I don't think he's going to celebrate against his former team because he's been with the Red Bulls for so long. Not to mention he come from the Red Bulls academy, so there's no way he's going to be celebrating again the team that gave him a chance. So Cornell did rob Mukta as he tipped that one onto the post, but it actually fell right back to Leao, and Leao tried to hits it into the empty net, but heads up play there from Cornell to quickly get back on his feet, and he was able to save that one, and he didn't even need to push it away. It wasn't actually a really strong shot there from Randall Leao, though Cornell did have to deny Mukta in the 17th minute. It was all Nashville early in this one. It wouldn't stay that long though, because I think the Red Bulls realized that they had to win in this game. They can't just simply park the bus and hope that they can get a draw so they can make it to the playoffs. Willis would then deny Manuel in the front post before Fernandez hits one right to Willis in the 27th minute. Again, the Red Bulls, I think they realized that they had to win this one, because this is when they really start to press for the opener of this game. Amaya would then puts it high from long range, and then he puts it high from close in the 45th minute. There was then a scramble in the box for the in the Red Bull box, and Fafa Pico did have a chance to finish it, but he hits a weak shot right to Cornell. So we do head to halftime scoreless between Nashville and the New York Red Bulls. In the second half, the Red Bulls continued to press for the opener. Willis would deny Manuel on a curling shot. As I mentioned, they were pressing to get that lead in the second half, knowing that they have to win in this one. Harper would then hits the side netting in the 61st minute, and you just think the Red Bulls are getting closer, but they need that goal. Like, they desperately need that goal. They need to capitalize on this opportunity, which has been a problem this season for the Red Bulls. I mean, there's been times where Red Bulls have played well, even when they're on the road, but when they don't capitalize those opportunities, it just turns into either draws or losses more often or not. Yearwood then curls it wide from close in the 81st minute. Where has Drew Yearwood been for this New York Red Bulls team? I mean, he's had a really disappointing season after you look really good last season for the Red Bulls. And as time winds down, it looked like it was not going to happen for the Red Bulls. But then in the first minute of stoppage time, penalty was given to the Red Bulls after Godoy brought down Luquinhas in the box. It was clearly a penalty there, and nice to see that Anibal Godoy still bring back his San Jose Earthquakes trait of giving up bad penalties in the box. But yeah, that gives the not only a lifeline for the Red Bulls, but a huge opportunity to save their season. So here comes Sean Token, the one that steps up to take the penalty. Now, normally for a young kid like that, you think that has to be not only a lot of pressure. Sure, but this the season is on the line for you. You have to convert this penalty. But give credit to John Token. He slots that home with ice in his veins as he puts that one in to give the Red Bulls a 1-0 lead. And at that point, this is when the pendulum's done, where it's the Red Bulls now that not only make it into the playoffs, but they actually now has the 8th seed. Though Kabiza did hits one right to Willis, and yeah, his teammates and the pretty much the entire Red Bulls bench was absolutely livid with him. Now he's probably fortunate that in the end they were able to hold onto this, but we have seen before this season where Nashville give up a goal late and they somehow score it in stoppage time too. I mean, remember that Charlotte resort? So yeah, it looked like it could have happened again, but thankfully for him, I mean, clearly that was a wrong decision. He should never have tried to go for a goal here. He should have just gone to the corner flag to waste time. It doesn't come back to haunt the Red Bulls. And yeah, the Red Bulls, somehow, in some way, they keep the streak alive. It's now 14 straight seasons for the New York Red Bulls of making the playoffs as they get that 1-0 win and the win to get themselves squeak into the playoffs. And the shots in this one, 12 shots committed, 9 that Nashville has, 4 shots on goal for the 5 that the Red Bulls had, 6 shots off target for the 2 that Nashville has, 3 shots that was blocked for the 1 that the Red Bulls had, and possession-wise, 57% possession compared to the 43% possession that the New York Red Bulls had. And with this win, as I mentioned, they get into the 8th seed, and they actually will host the wild card game against Charlotte FC in that the Eastern Conference, and that's going to be interesting because this will be the second straight year that the Red Bulls will be facing against a team that just came into the league a couple of years ago and making their first playoff appearance. And I'm pretty sure Red Bulls fans want to have they don't want a repeat of what happened last time against Cincinnati when they blew it, and the that so Metro moment, of course, would happen. I mean, I had a feeling that probably will still happen in the playoffs, but at least, if you've been a long-time Red Bulls fan, I think the only thing you can cling on is at least you still have the longest active playoff streak. And again, it looked like it was in serious jeopardy in this game. They just did enough, and that's all they care after this game. And this is where I go back to Montreal again. Going back to what I said, you cannot just think that it's enough for you to move on, and you got to start show urgency that you can at least get a resort out of that. I mean, I think if Montreal gets a draw, I don't think it would have made matter. I think the Red Bulls would have still made it to the playoffs. But even then, the fact that they didn't show urgency in that game against Columbus and was really heavily putting their eggs in one basket of a game that they have no control in. Yeah, that's kind of I never like teams when they decided to hope to rely on other team to help them a favor because if you control your own destiny, you have to take care of business. And I think Montreal in the end, because they didn't do that, they didn't deserve to make it to the playoffs, and the Red Bulls deserve it because they took care of the business and they got the help that they need to keep that playoff streak alive. With that being said, moving on in the next match is NYCFC versus the Chicago Fire. So as I mentioned, this was a game that, despite the fact that it was between two teams that are below the red line, there still could be a chance that both of these teams were going to miss out on the playoffs if helps doesn't go their way. And guess what happens? Help didn't go their way. Both of these teams got eliminated from the playoffs, despite the fact that NYCFC does get a 1-0 win. And looking how this game goes, I mean, it kind of gone the way I thought it was going to be. It was a very evenly game. I don't think the scoreline kind of justified that this could easily end up with a much higher score game if both of these teams were a little bit clinical in terms of their finishing. Though early on, Brady would deny Rodriguez from close range, and also, not to mention, both goalkeepers were playing very well in this one, too. NYCFC was definitely on the front foot early. They were looking for the opener. Freeze would deny Herberts from close range before Tiran would miss wide from close. Rodriguez then on the other end tried to toe poke it in the back post, but he wasn't able to get to it before Freeze on the other end denied Gutierrez on the free kick. Again, it was pretty much back and forth and back and forth. Both of these teams were looking to trying to get that crucial opener to get their chances in terms of making the playoffs. Tiran in the 31st minute then actually put it into his own net, but the flag actually came up for offside, and I think that's one of the few times we have seen where a player put the ball into his own net and he was rescued because of the flag. I mean, there's been many times I talk about players very frustrated that they got denied by a goal because of the flag, but I think this is the case where Carlos Tiran is pretty much thanking the flag, the fact that it came up, because yeah, that wouldn't have been a very good own goal for him to score, especially in a typical game or in a pivotal game like that. Though you could also say that that's probably the most Chicago Fire-esque thing could happen in a pivotal game like this. In the 33rd minute, Martins would hit it right to Brady before Brady would deny Magno from close. I thought NYCFC started to control this game. They were looking to try to get the opener. Parks would then miss wide from close range, but we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams that desperately needed a win. In the second half, T-Ron would then hit one onto the roof of the net before Magno puts it wide from close. Once again, we start chances for both of these teams. But the question is, who can get that crucial opening goal? Well, after Martins missed wide on the header from the corner in the 59th minute, NYCFC got the opening goal. And what a goal this is. I mean, this is definitely going to be in contention for goal of the week. Julian Fernandez absolutely hit this one on a frozen rope from long range as he scored here from Rodriguez to give NYCFC a 1-0 lead. Though, unfortunately, even with that lead, the result was still not going in favor for them. I mean, coming into this game, it was going to take a lot for NYCFC to make it to the playoffs, even if they do win this one. Though Shaqiri did look to equalize, but he hits that one right to freeze before Gutierrez hits it right to freeze in the 76th minute. And again, Chicago, not only the fact that they're looking to try to equalize, they needed to win this one. So they pressed to trying to get that equalizer, trying to get one back so they can set up their chances to get a second goal to win this one. Shaqiri would then puts it wide from close in the 87th minute. And as I wrote, as the result stands, it was still not going to be in favor of both teams. Both of these teams were still going to be eliminated. Magno did look to try to see it, trying to make it 2-0, but he missed that one wide. And yeah, in the end, NYCFC does win 1-0 in this one, but unfortunately, because Resort doesn't go in favor of them, and not to mention Chicago, of course, losing this game, which means that, coming into this game, knowing the loser of this game is going to get eliminated, they're also eliminated from playoff contention. And now that I talk about the longest active playoff streak, but it seems like now the longest playoff drought in MLS continue as the Chicago Fire. It's now 7 seasons for the Chicago Fire since they last make it to the playoffs. Actually, no, it's 6 season that is. Last time they made it was 2017. But yeah, I mean this. I hate to say this, but this has been a very Chicago Fire-esque kind of season, and that I genuinely feel bad for this fan base. I mean, I've said this before. If there is a fan base that deserves success, it's got to be the Chicago Fire, because it just feels like it's Groundhog Day every single year, and that it's no big surprise that in this pivotal game that they need to win so that they can make it to the playoffs, they follow a narrative and they weren't able to make it in. The shots in this one, again, it was a very relatively even games, so the shots weren't that much off in terms of the total. 15 shots compared to 14 that NYCFC had. Both teams had 4 shots on goal. 7 shots off target compared to 9 that Chicago has. 2 shots that was blocked compared to 3 that NYCFC had. And possession-wise, 50% for both of these teams. Also for NYCFC, their playoff streak have now come to an end. This is the first season that they did not make it to the playoffs since their expansion season. But I feel like you kind of saw it coming, knowing that halfway of this season, it looked like things were very dire for this team. I mean, they did try to fix it, trying to make a late playoff run, but it was just not meant to be. And now doing this off season, I'm pretty sure they're going to continue to rebuild this team. I mean, this season it was always going to be a transitional year, and hopefully this off season they'll maybe adjust some of the things that they need to change, and that hopefully next season they'll make it strong, because I do think that there are a good foundation for this NYCFC team, and they definitely hit on some of the signings that they had in the summer, but it's just that it was just way too late for them to overcome the hole that they found themselves in heading into the latter stage of this season. With that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the last 3 games to finish off this review of the Eastern Conference game on Decision Day. So now we're going to talk about games that is not related to the playoff race. I mean, there's a reason why I decided to do that first, because I'm pretty sure everybody that watched this video want me to talk about those games that related to the exciting playoff race that gone down in the Eastern Conference. But now we're going to talk about games that relates to seat thing. So the first one is FC Cincinnati versus Atlanta. Well, technically it was kind of a meaningless game for Cincinnati, and it's been the case for the past couple of weeks since they clinched the Supporters Shield. But then again, they want to get themselves in a good form heading into the playoffs, and unfortunately they weren't able to do so in this game and get themselves a win heading into the playoffs. Though I will say that at least in the first half, this game lived up to its expectation, and I really hope that this was is going to be a matchup in the playoffs because man, this matchup was exciting to watch in the first half. It was very back and forth in the first half. Early on, Saltano would deny Silver from close range. Atlanta was definitely on the front foot as they were looking to try to get the opener, and they do. In the 12th minute, it's Yakimakis. He's scored from Venize and Amada to make it 1-0 in favor of Atlanta. And yes, I'm actually saying Saba last name too. I mean, if you get it right, it's actually a pretty sweet last name to say. Lobjanize, but still, I do prefer Saba there as his first name, and he actually almost scored like himself in the 15th minute, but he missed that one wide, and then he was denied in the 17th minute by Salentano from close range, and Atlanta was definitely pushing for another. Though on the other end, Baji almost scored against the run of play as he miss a point blank effort because that's kind of the season that Don Baji has had for Cincinnati. No, I will say that he did make up for it in the 26th minute as he would score here from Pau and Acosta to make it 1-1 in this one. So two guys that's been having a relatively rough season for Cincinnati, and the guys are kind of more like bench player like Don Baji and Alvis Pau. You know, they combine on the assist chart there, though that equalizer didn't last long because 6 minutes later, Yakimakis would score again as he retake the lead for Atlanta from Amada to give Atlanta a 2-1 lead, and Atlanta was just ripping the Cincinnati defense to pieces. I mean, you know, this Cincinnati defense, which has been really good this year, uh, I think Pat Nolan's got to be concerned about how easy this defense or how this defense kind of has regressed a little bit heading down the stretch in this season. And while I do think that Cincinnati is still a team that I think could go deep into the playoffs, unless if the supporter shield curse come back to bite them, there is definitely that concern that if this defense doesn't get its act together, I mean, I know they have the attacking power to outscore a team, but you don't want to rely on that when playoff time does come. But that being said, in the second minute of stoppage time, Lucho Acosta would score because of course he scored. He's trying to make his case that he is going to be the MVP this season, and I do think that there's a huge chance that he is going to be the MVP this year as he scored here from Barrial and Murphy to tie the game up at 2 apiece, and that would be the scoreline heading into the second half. Now in the second half, 8 minutes in, Amado would get his second yellow card, and this could come back to haunt Atlanta because you know Amada, as mentioned, he is just such an important player and a guy that you know talk about MVP. I know it's been between him and Lucho Acosta. I do think Lucho Acosta is probably going to win because he definitely has contributed not only on the goal scoring department but also on the assist chart. While Amada, while he has scored some goals to help his team, he is not as dynamic as, in my opinion, and import dynamic of a player. Well, actually, I take that back. I was gonna say that he's not as dynamic as Lucho Acosta, and now pretty much Atlanta United fans is gonna be slating at me. I do think that in terms of looking at MVP player, usually it comes from a team that wins the Supporter Shield, and maybe that's kind of where Lucho Acosta gets the nod over Amada. I mean, both of these players are considered to be great player, and that this is why with Thiago Almada getting a second yellow card here and him missing that first game in the playoffs against Columbus. Yeah, that's gonna be a big loss for Atlanta. Though at least it didn't feel like it was immediately felt after his dismissal because in the 56th minute, Salentano would deny Munyomba from close range, and then he denied Wiley in the 67th minute. And you know, if you wouldn't have seen the score bug and says that Atlanta was down to 10 men, you wouldn't have noticed. I mean, Atlanta was still getting some good opportunity, and Cincinnati was still kind of on their heels a little bit on the defensive end. Again, if you're Pat Nolan, you are probably not happy with the way how your defense has really regressed down the stretch in these last couple of games. In the 71st minute, Barriel missed an absolute sitter in the back post. Yeah, that's one that Alvaro Barriel, we have seen him score those all season long, and that's one that he would definitely want to have back. Mascara then puts it wide from close in the 83rd minute, and really as time wind down, Cincinnati, they were trying to get the winner, even though it kind of didn't really mean anything for them, and Atlanta was just happy to sit back and play for a draw. And that's exactly what they got. They got a 2-2 draw out of this one. The shots in this one, 13 shots for the 17 that Cincinnati has, 3 shots on goal for the 5 that Atlanta has, 3 shots off target for the 8 that Cincinnati had, 6 shots that was blocked for the 5 that Atlanta has, and possession-wise, 57% possession compared to 43% possession that Atlanta has in this one. Cincinnati, of course, being the top seed, they get the bye in the first round of the, well, at least in they get the bye in terms of the wild card round. Actually, every team gets a bye in terms of the wild card round. I forgot, with this new playoff format, the top seed doesn't get a bye like what we've seen in the previous 2 seasons, but they of course will play the winner of either the New York Red Bulls or Charlotte FC. Whereas for Atlanta, they get to play against Columbus, and I wish this was kind of a matchup in the playoffs. I am definitely excited to see that Atlanta versus Columbus matchup. Like, if you want a matchup that has high scoring and just high intensity going forward on the attacking end and just free flowing soccer that is going on, the Columbus and Atlanta series, I mean, there's going to be some fireworks on the attack with how good both of these attack has been in this last month or so. And this is also why, losing Amada is going to be a huge loss for this Atlanta team because, while they definitely still showed some good threat going forward after Amada got dismissal in this game, he still is a very important player for this team. He's single-handedly the playmaker and the guy that pulls the string to this team. And while he is going to be back for game number 2 of that best of 3 series, you definitely don't want to lose him in that pivotal game 1 of the best of 3 series. And the fact that we potentially get 3 games of Atlanta versus Columbus, sign me up for that. But that being said, moving on into the next game. So this is kind of an interesting one because this is actually going to be a matchup we're going to see in the playoffs in the first round, as New England and the Philadelphia Union will be the 2 teams that play in the first round in the Eastern Conference. And I think this after this game, well, the only thing that really means in this game is just to see where they are in the seeding. I think this is a wake up call for Jim Curran and Philadelphia Union team that, yeah, they should not take this New England Revolution team lightly, especially after this game when they took the L. Though early on, not much really happened in the first 10 minutes. The shots were 1-0 through 10 minutes in, though in the 15-minute, the Union did get the opening goal. It's Carranza scoring from Uru to give New England a 1 no or not New England, Philadelphia a 1-0 lead. You can probably tell I'm sorry getting tired because it is getting late into the evening, and really this was just an absolute gift that the New England Revolution gave to the Union. Just a miscommunication there between the goalkeeper Jacob Jackson and Romney. Both of them doesn't really deal with it, and Uru basically picked the pocket of both of them. He lays it to Carranza, and yeah, that was an easy finish there from Julian Carranza, and that gave the Union a 1-0 lead. Though in the 18th minute, Jackson did make up for it. He denied Uru from long range, but then a penalty was given to the Revs as Damian Lowe would handball that one into the box. So Gustavo Bo steps up to take the bounty and he buries it. So yeah, that made it 1-1 in this one. By the way, I think this is Gustavo Bo first game coming back from the New England Revolution. He hasn't really started a lot of games because he's been battling injuries throughout the season, but that at least is a good news. The fact that the Revs does get one of their attacker back, because this team has just been absolutely slammed with injuries throughout this season. I mean, this talented squad that we've seen from the Revs in the beginning of the season, pretty much half of that talented squad is basically out because of long-term injury. But in the 26th minute, Gastak did look to answer, but he missed wide there before Jackson denied Carranza in the 30th minute after just a bad giveaway there from the Revs. So yeah, the Revs got away with that one because you do not want to turn the ball over against this lethal Union team, which they decided to still put their starters in this one. But I also thought that it was a good response for the Union. They were looking to try to retake the lead, but instead, after Bo hits one right to Blake in the 38th minute, he would score again in the 42nd minute, as he scored here from Carlos Gil to give the Refs a 2-1 lead. It was off of a lightning counterattack, but also one that, yeah, Blake, he wants that one back. Like, you usually do not see Andre Blake get beaten this easily. I mean, this shot from ball from the near post, it wasn't really hit very well. Blake did get a hand to it, but with the caliber that Andre Blake is, and considered him to be the back-to-back goalkeeper winner of the year for the last 2 seasons, he knows that that's one that he's got to save. But New England wouldn't care. They took advantage of a rare mistake there from Andre Blake, and they take the lead heading into halftime. Now in the second half, not much really happened either. In the beginning of the second half, Heel would then hits one right to Blake in the 68th minute, because why not? Blake was already made one mistake. But if there's one thing you know about Andre Blake, is that one mistake is not going to rattle him like you see with other goalkeepers. Sean Calais then hits one right to Blake in the 71st minute, and again the Revs, they were pushing for a third goal. And what's kind of interesting is that they said that if New England get that third goal, they will still play the Philadelphia Union in the best of three series, but now they would be the one that has a home field advantage. And as much as I mentioned, with all these lower seed team, they want to play the Revs. If the Revs does get a home field advantage, keep in mind New England has been very good this season at home. So as much as things have really fall apart for them, they still have a really strong record at home at Gillette Stadium. So yeah, you kind of had a sense that they were really trying to push to get that winner, so they get that home field advantage against the Union. Though McGlynn did fires it high from long range before Bueno would pose it wide from close in the 77th minute, and you just had a sense that the next goal was up for grabs. Both of these teams was pushing for that next crucial goal, and it looked like the Union got it in the 87th minute. Gastek puts it into the back of the net. The problem was the flag did not agree with him, and especially on the sequence of play, it seems like that was the reason why it was offside. And the Revs still has the lead, and they would hang on to win this one 2-1 against the Philadelphia Union. And the shots in this one, 16 shots per 11 that the Philadelphia Union has in this one, 3 shots on goal for the 5 that the Revs had, 4 shots off target for the 7 that the Union has, 1 shot that was blocked for the 7 that the Revs had, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to 48% possession the Revs has the Union has in this one. So as I said, this is a wake-up call for Jim Curtin and his Union team, because heading into this best of three series against the Revs, they cannot take them lightly, because New England, as much as I know everybody has counted them out, that's kind of something that I think they maybe fry on. I mean, we've seen before where some teams that they use that as kind of their their mojo, knowing the fact that everybody count them out, they have nothing to lose. So why not go for it and play at the best of the ability? And sometimes when you do that in the playoffs, that is a very very successful recipe when you have that kind of mentality. And again, one thing I will say about this New England team and these players have probably the strongest mentality I have seen any team so far. I mean, the thing that they've gone through this year, the thing that they have to battle through with all the injuries, and now they're able to make the playoffs. They can even win one playoff series. I think if you're a Revs fan, I mean, I know in the end you kind of want to see this team to win MLS Cup, but because of how things have just kind of fall apart, I think if they win one playoff series, it's still gonna be considered a good season. You still gotta applaud in terms of what this team has been able to still accomplish, despite just so many things that have gone wrong for this team, both on and off the field. But moving on in terms of the next match, speaking of a team that has been kind of having turmoil, is Toronto and Orlando City. So yeah, this was a game where for Toronto, I'll tell you what, for the last game of the season, they actually didn't play bad in this game. Problem is they couldn't finish. And the other problem is that the other team that they were facing, which is Orlando City, which is a very good team, yeah, they turns out to show their clinical finishing. And they also had that guy called Duncan McGuire that, yeah, I gotta say, no, Orlando, it's kind of insane the fact that, in a short amount of period, they have produced two of the most highly hype strikers that we have seen in this league. I mean, it was first Dale DK, and now it could be Duncan McGuire of how good he's been in his breakout season. Now, early on in the ninth minute, Owusu would miss wide from close range. Not much really happened in this one, as the shots were 1-0 for TFC. And also, notice I decided to review this game last because, yeah, this is the game that nobody really cared, because there wasn't really anything up for grabs in this one. The first shot for Orlando did see Carlos heads it wide from the corner before Benedeski would pose it wide from the curler. Wusu then puts it high from close range before Insigne would put one into the stands in the 37th minute. there was no doubt the momentum was with TFC as they were pushing for the opener. Insigne would then hit it right to Stade Hart. This could potentially be his last game alongside with Benedetti, though, John Herman might say otherwise. According to some of the reports that we heard a couple of days ago. Though we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. Second half, Stade would deny Insigne in the front post before Bendeski hits one right to Stade. It was a positive start for Toronto again, but the question is, can they get that opening goal? And in Lloyd they did, as Owusu puts it into the back net. Unfortunately, the flag did not agree with him, so the goal was disallowed for offside. And yeah, it turns out that was enough for Orlando to think that yeah, it's time to stop playing around because they decided to bring in the cavalry. Duncan McGuire was part of that cavalry of the attack that Orlando City and Oscar Pereira decided to bring on, and he immediately paid Oscar Pereira back in terms of uh, getting thrust into this game because he scored just 2 minutes in coming into this game. He scored from Stade to make it 1-0 in favor of Orlando City. So Stade rare time where you see a goalkeeper get on the assist chart. It usually come from a route one ball, and it kind of did, but this was just completely Duncan McGuire going beast mode. I mean, Duncan McGuire, this was just like he. I know this is of course the last game for Michael Bradley, and we talk about how he has an incredible full career, but man, Duncan McGuire, this was just like this was just too much. Like you didn't have to disrespect Michael Bradley on his final game in his career like that, right? Because he basically puts it over the head, he flicked it over the head of Bradley, just completely turn him like a skirt, and that yeah, I mean this was just insane. And this is when you know that you have a guy that is not only in form but just having an outstanding season, and that there's no doubt that if you talk about young player of the year, I am really surprised Duncan McGuire did not ends up on the list. I mean, I guess maybe because I don't think he's I think he's a little older than 22 years old. The 22 under 22 that just released. Alan Velasco, of course, win that. I think because McGuire is older, that he wasn't eligible of parting that award. But if he was under that age, he would absolutely won that award because of an incredible season that he has. And I am kind of surprised that there's not even mentioned the fact that he could win Young Player of the Year because of the year that he's been having. Because in the 74th minute, he would score again, as he scored here from Smith to make it 2-0 in favor of Orlando. And you know how he's in form right now? Yeah, he was in on goal there, and he just like tucked that one home like it's a piece of cake. Like that's a guy that you can clearly see is an informed striker. And just like that, two opportunity Orlando has, they put it away, and in a blink of an eye, it was 2-0 in favor of Orlando City. And then in the 90th minute, the post would denied Insigne from close range. If that was the last shot that Insigne was participate with this Toronto FC team, that probably just kind of sums up his career with TFC. I mean, him and Bernadeschi, there was so much promise that they can bring this team back to its glory days that we saw a couple years ago, and it just didn't happen. I mean, and that it's just been a hugely disappointing signing. Well, not from the beginning, because in the beginning there was definitely that hype, especially when they came into the league and burst into the scenes, but just with the off the field situation that's going on with the way that both of these players doesn't seem to like to see eye to eye and doesn't seem to like to work with each other. It's just such a shame of how things have kind of gone for his career with TFC, and also just the season for Toronto FC. I mean, I'm pretty sure every TFC fans, if there's a fan base that really want their season to be over, I'm pretty sure TFC fans are probably right up there because yeah, finally the season is over. This is when we're gonna probably start to see the new being dropped on this roster and see the cleanup that is being made because yeah, there's no doubt that this team needs to go through a complete rebuild and might be thinking about the long term future. But yeah, in the end, like I said, Orlando win 2-0 in this one, and they didn't even need to do much to win this one. They only have 5 shots in this one compared to 12 that Toronto has. But the story of this game is the shots on goal. Both team had 3 shots on goal. Orlando was just so clinical. 2 of the 3 shots on goal went into the back of net. No shots off target for the 4 that Toronto has. 5 shots that was blocked that Orlando has. And possession wise, 54% or 59% possession compared to the 41% possession that Orlando City has. And with Orlando, of course, clinched the second seed. They're now going to be playing Nashville in the best of three series, and I'll tell you what, Orlando wants some revenge after what happened a couple of years ago against Nashville, and it always seems like both of these teams just always play each other in a pivotal game in the knockout round, and we're going to see it again with both of these teams playing against each other, and Orlando will want some revenge against Nashville after what happened in 2021. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of looking at these Eastern Conference games. Like I said, I'm absolutely exhausted right now. After I upload this video, well, actually, after I upload this video on YouTube and put the description, I'm just gonna go to sleep straight away. Tomorrow, I'll basically finish up the review of the Western Conference game, including the game that I've attended earlier tonight. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.